Hello everyone, I'm Jasmine and today we're going to be reading Tricky's Bad Day by Alison Lester. Have you ever had a tricky day before? And if you have, what happened in your day? Maybe you didn't get to go to the park. Maybe you had a bit of a fall and it really hurt. Maybe you didn't get to play with a toy that you really wanted. Or maybe you didn't even get to go outside at all. Well, in this book, some of these things happen to our friend Tricky. But guess what? At the very end of this book, something incredible happens to Tricky, which makes his bad day into quite the adventurous one. Let's get reading and find out what it is. Tricky's Bad Day by Alison Lester. Tricky woke early when it was still night. He didn't call out or turn on the light, but his bottle was empty and Tilly's was too, so he set out to fill them like Mama would do. In the kitchen, the milk spilled all over the floor. Tricky slipped and he slid and his head hit the door. He woke Mum and Dad, Matilda and Frankie, and now the whole family was cross, tired and cranky. "Back to bed," growled Dad, "and I mean right away." It wasn't a very good start to the day. Later at breakfast, not long after dawn, Tricky sent back his porridge because it was warm. The toast was in triangles, he wanted squares, so he pushed it away and tipped over the pears. "Gotta go now," said Mum. "Will you all be okay?" "No," Tricky grumbled. "I want you to stay." "I can get dressed myself," he shouted to Dad, but the buttons were stiff and that made him mad. He tried 4 pairs of socks, but none felt quite right, and his special red jumper was itchy and tight. Poor Tricky, nothing was going his way. It was becoming a horrible day. Tricky wore his high heels to go down the street, but the straps were too tight and cut into his feet. Then his scooter took off and bumped into a rock, and he needed a lift all the way to the shop. He wanted a lolly, but Dad said, "No way." Tricky grizzled and cried. It was such a bad day. He helped Dad make lunch by chopping bananas, then poured in the milk and a cup of sultanas. But he turned on the switch while the lid wasn't tight, and smoothie mix sputtered right up to the light. "You'll feel better after a nap," Dad said, and the pillow was nice and soft under his head. Tricky tried hard to sleep, but sleep wouldn't come, and a thread on his jumper was coming undone. His favorite jumper was running away. It was really and truly a terrible day. He made up a game for Tilly to play, but she stole his blue horses and stacked up the hay, then screamed when he pushed her out of his space. "Patrick," Dad said with a very cross face. Tricky sat for a while in the clear thinking chair. Then he found the nail scissors and cut Dolly's hair. When his poor father pleaded, "Be good, just for Dad," he stamped and he shouted, "I want to be bad." Frankie was crying, and Till needed food, and Dad had no time for a trick in a mood. "What you need," he said, "is a run up the hill, but it's too cold outside now for Frankie and Till. Mum's nearly home. When she gets here, we'll go all the way to the place where the cubby trees grow. Get your coat and your boots, you lead the way. We can make this a wild and adventurous day." So when Mama walked into the kitchen again, Tricky and Dad raced out in the rain. They paddled in puddles and splashed in the creek
and followed a bird with a twig in her beak. They yelled to the wind and slid on their knees and finally got to Trick's favourite trees. Up, up they climbed to their snug hideaway and watched the wind blowing the boats in the bay. Then they hurried back home across the wet park as the streetlights came on to shine in the dark. "Dad," Tricky said as they finished their race, "I love going up to our cubby tree place." They were singing a song as they came up the path. Tricky taught Mum the words as they splashed in the bath. Then they had dinner, a book and a play, and Tricky said, "That was a really good day." The end.
Thanks for reading Tricky's Bad Day with me. I'll see you next time. Bye.